Every Formula One season has its turning point, a moment that doesn't just shift the race weekend, but ripples across the grid and shakes up everything we thought we knew. This might be one of those moments. Lance Stroll, injured, uncertain, and under pressure, could be forced to sit out his home race in Canada, and waiting quietly in the shadows, Valtteri Bottas, a driver written off by many, but not finished, not yet. He's not just looking for a seat, he's looking for redemption, relevance, and one last shot to rewrite his story. Things might be getting interesting in Formula One as the Canadian Grand Prix approaches. There's a big rumor going around. Valtteri Bottas, the talented Finnish driver with 10 race wins under his belt, could be stepping in for Lance Stroll at Aston Martin. Why? Well, Stroll is still recovering from wrist surgery, an injury he first picked up back in 2023. He had surgery recently to relieve the pain, but the timing raised some eyebrows. It came right after a major crash at the 2025 Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona, which many say was one of the lowest points in his career. Aston Martin hasn't confirmed anything yet, and Stroll might still race, but just in case, they may want Bottas ready to go. If Bottas does get behind the wheel, it could be his chance to prove himself again, not just to Aston Martin, but to other teams, including Cadillac, who are watching closely as they plan for 2026. Even Mercedes, Bottas's former team, might have to decide whether they're okay with him jumping in and showing what he can still do. When asked about Lance Stroll's recovery, Aston Martin's trackside boss Mike Crack kept things vague. He said, "We'll have to see what the next days bring. There will be more tests and checks, and we'll know more soon. Right now, it's hard to say what's going to happen." So, Stroll isn't officially out of the Canadian Grand Prix just yet. Everything being discussed now is just a what if. But it's a big one. Aston Martin does have 2 backup drivers available, and we'll talk about them in this video too. But what's really caught people's attention is the possible availability of Valtteri Bottas. For the team, Bottas would be more than just a backup. He'd be a major upgrade in experience and talent. We're talking about a driver who's raced over 200 times in Formula One with 10 victories to his name. Back when he drove for Mercedes between 2017 and 2021, he was super consistent, never missing out on Q2 or Q3 in qualifying. His more recent time with Sauber hasn't been as impressive, but many believe that team didn't show what Bottas is really capable of. And trust me, other teams are watching. They haven't forgotten what Valtteri can do when he's in a fast car. That's where Cadillac comes into the picture. Bottas has been in talks with them about a possible spot for 2026, when the team plans to enter Formula One full-time. If he does end up racing for Aston Martin at the Canadian Grand Prix, it could be the perfect chance to remind everyone, including Cadillac, of what he can do. It might even speed up his return to the grid. Bottas has made it clear he's not ready to walk away from F1. He recently opened up about his future, saying the only reason he doesn't have a seat right now is because of decisions outside his control. He also revealed that a possible move to Red Bull fell through, not because of his performance, but because certain people on the team didn't want him there. But he sees Cadillac as a real opportunity. They're planning to run Ferrari engines, and Bottas already has experience with Ferrari power. A big plus for him when the new F1 regulations kick in for 2026. Speaking from the heart, Bottas said, "I'm sitting here now without a race seat, not because of my own choice. I definitely still feel, and that emotion came quickly after I found out I wouldn't have a seat this year, that I'm not done with Formula One. I still have more to give. It's still the number one thing in my life." He added, "That feeling has only gotten stronger while watching from the sidelines." As Bottas hopes for a comeback, there's still one big question. Why would Aston Martin choose him over their own reserve driver, Felipe Drugovich? Drugovich, a former Formula 2 champion, joined Aston Martin as a backup driver after his big F2 win. But since then, he hasn't had a real shot at a full-time Formula 1 seat. Even though he's super talented, he's been stuck on the sidelines, waiting for the right moment. Still, he's stayed busy. Felipe has taken on other racing duties, like competing in the quirky 24 Hours of Lemons, a fun endurance race for old beat-up cars. Ironically, that event takes place the same weekend as the Canadian Grand Prix, but Drugovich has made it clear, Formula One is still his top priority. When asked about the situation, he said, "Right now, I don't even know how things will go. First, we have to wish Lance the best for Lemons, but for me, Formula One is the main goal, and I'll be ready if a seat opens up." So if Stroll can't race, both Bottas and Drugovich could be in the running. One is an experienced race winner, the other, a rising star still waiting for his big break. There's one more name we can't ignore, Stoffel Vandoorne. The The Belgian driver has been a part of Aston Martin's reserve team for a while now, and unlike Felipe Drugovich, Vandoorne actually has Formula One race experience. That makes him another strong option to fill in for Lance Stroll in Canada. He knows how the sport works at the highest level, and Aston Martin might be tempted to go with someone that reliable. That said, don't expect any miracles from Aston Martin at the Canadian Grand Prix. The team's been struggling in the Constructors' Championship this year. Before the Spanish Grand Prix in Barcelona, only Stroll had scored any points for the team. But with Fernando Alonso grabbing a P9 finish recently, both drivers have finally put Aston Martin on the scoreboard. Even though the team is already looking ahead to big changes in 2026, they're not ready to throw 2025 away completely. In fact, the legendary engineer Adrian Newey was seen hanging out with Aston Martin in Monaco, a sign they're still taking this season seriously. That's why giving Bottas a chance in Canada could be more than just a short-term fix. His experience could help Aston Martin's engineers back at the factory in Silverstone figure out how to make the car faster. Plus, for Bottas, it would be a huge step forward in locking down a future seat with Cadillac in 2026. Cadillac, the American team, is getting ready to join Formula One in 2026, and they're searching everywhere for the right drivers. Valtteri Bottas, with 10 race wins and over 200 races behind him, definitely knows what's at stake. He may not be the youngest option, but what he lacks in youth, he makes up for in experience, and Cadillac knows how valuable that can be. Still, Bottas isn't the only name in the running. Other top choices include Mick Schumacher, Sergio Perez, and even Zhou Guanyu. Meanwhile, American driver Colton Herta, once considered a strong candidate, is no longer in the picture. So, will Bottas make a full-time return to Formula One in 2026? It's too early to say. According to him, Cadillac isn't in a rush to make decisions just yet. He explained, "I don't think Cadillac is in a massive rush. They've been really busy just trying to get a car ready for next year. I know when I need to have answers for myself. I'd say around August is a good time, but hopefully we'll hear something before then." While all this is happening, Aston Martin is facing a tricky situation. They don't have a backup driver locked in who can step up confidently and perform right away. That might force them to look outside the team, possibly towards someone like Bottas, if Lance Stroll can't race in Canada. But don't count Stroll out just yet. In 2023, he pushed through a lot of pain to race, and if his recovery is going well, there's a good chance he'll try to do the same again, especially since this is his home Grand Prix. But here's the thing, if Stroll's pain gets worse or if recovery takes longer than expected, he may have no choice but to sit out for a while. And that could make Aston Martin's situation even more complicated. If whoever steps in next to Alonso suddenly performs well, showing real speed without needing help from a lucky safety car or rainy weather, then both regular drivers might start feeling the pressure. Sure, Fernando Alonso is almost untouchable. He's a two-time world champion and already lined up to become Aston Martin's ambassador after he retires. That gives him a lot of job security. And Lance Stroll? Well, he's the son of team owner Lawrence Stroll. So realistically, seeing him lose his seat would be a huge deal, something that almost no one expects to happen. Still, the team can't avoid tough decisions forever. As for Bottas, this might be the perfect chance to prove that he's still got the speed, the drive, and the fire to compete at the highest level. Whether that proof comes at the Canadian Grand Prix or not, only time will tell. Yes, the odds might be stacked against him, but if there's one thing Formula One has taught us, it's to never count out a driver with something to prove. In a sport where every millisecond counts and careers can shift with a single race, Valtteri Bottas stands at the edge of something bigger. Maybe a comeback, maybe a final shot to remind the world who he really is. Aston Martin faces a difficult choice: play it safe with their long-time reserve drivers, or bet on the experience, hunger, and fire of a proven race winner. But behind the racing lines and team politics, there's a deeper question at play. When a driver like Bottas, with 10 victories and over a decade of wisdom, is forced to watch from the sidelines, what does that say about the way Formula One values its heroes? And if this really is the last chance for Bottas to put himself back on the grid, will Aston Martin give him that chance? Whatever happens, the next few weeks could shape not just one career, but the future direction of two teams and possibly the F1 grid in 2026. Now it's your turn. Should Bottas get the seat? Would you take experience over potential, or the other way around? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget, like, subscribe, and keep it locked right here for more deep dives, breaking stories, and everything Formula One. We'll see you in the next lap.